Morning arrived softly in Willowbrook Village. The river moved like a sleepy ribbon, and the grass wore tiny diamonds of dew. A little wind chime gave one gentle tap. The air smelled like wet leaves and warm bread. Luna stepped outside with her lantern in both hands. She heard a quiet humming, like a song hiding in the air. The village lane was calm and clean. Willow leaves rustled like soft whispers above the stones. By the river, Kai listened too. His tiny fox sat close, ears perked, as the humming drifted over the water. The fox sniffed a shiny stone and gave a small, excited wiggle. The humming seemed to tickle the air, like bubbles in a song. Luna followed the sound down the path. Her lantern bobbed gently, even though the day was already brightening. Kai hurried over a little bridge, and the fox padded after him. The boards made tiny creaks, like they were waking up too. In the village square, sunlight spilled across the fountain. The humming floated through the air, then slipped away toward the fields. Luna held her lantern still and listened carefully. The sound felt friendly, like it wanted to be found. Kai reached the village edge and looked out. The fox's tail flicked once, pointing the same way as the humming. The path out of Willowbrook waited like an open door. The breeze pushed gently, as if saying, "This way." Luna arrived at the ivy wall and saw the path ahead. Her lantern glass caught the sun and made a tiny rainbow on the stones. Kai tightened his satchel strap so it wouldn't bounce. The fox sat like a little guard, ready for a grand walk. Beyond the village, the land opened wide. The humming grew a bit clearer, like a tune warming up. Luna met Kai at the path, and they stood side by side. They nodded to each other and stepped out, following the gentle music. Their footsteps made quiet prints in the soft dirt. Dew brushed their ankles, cool and fresh like a morning kiss. Willowbrook Village slowly slipped behind them. Ahead, the day looked wide and welcoming. The path curled through the fields like a lazy line. The breeze carried the humming closer, soft and steady. Silverthread Lane shimmered under the sun. The reeds brushed together and made a shushing sound, as if they were keeping a secret. Luna and Kai walked into the tall reeds. Light and shadow striped the path, and the humming seemed to dance between the stems. Reed plumes waved like soft feathers. A few fluffy seeds floated by, slow and sleepy. Luna touched a reed with one careful finger. It tickled her skin, and the humming answered with a slightly brighter note. Kai tried to walk the very middle of the path like a tightrope. The fox hopped along, quick and proud, as if it could do it best. Around a bend, the reeds opened just enough to show a forest ahead. The humming seemed to drift from that cool green place. They stopped by bright flowers and listened again. The tune felt like it was calling from farther on, patient and kind. Petals trembled and tickled the air. Even the smallest beetle moved slowly, as if it didn't want to miss the music. Kai stepped over a little ditch. The fox leaped after him, landing softly like a puff of orange. Luna raised her lantern, and tiny specks inside glimmered. It was as if the lantern liked the humming too. The lane grew narrower as the forest came closer. The air turned cooler, and the humming sounded steadier, like a held note. They walked toward the first trees. Their shadows shortened as the sun climbed, and the forest waited with quiet arms. At the edge, the ground changed from dusty to soft. Moss looked like a green blanket laid out for careful feet. They left the shimmering reeds behind. With one more step, they entered the forest shade, following the hidden tune. The forest path felt springy underfoot. Sunbeams fell in soft stripes, and the air smelled like clean earth. Mossring Forest opened into a quiet clearing. Round stones sat in a circle, each one wearing a thick moss hat. Luna and Kai entered the stone circle slowly. The humming was louder here, but it sounded a little wobbly, like a song missing one part. The moss looked soft enough to nap on. Tiny droplets hid inside it, cool like secret marbles. Luna knelt and moved a fern out of the way. She found faint lines carved into the stone, like marks from an old melody. Kai checked the edges of the clearing. The fox sniffed a hollow log, then looked up as if it smelled something sweet and shiny. Under the leaf was a small golden bell petal. It didn't ring, but it gleamed as if it remembered how. They met in the middle of the stones. The carvings and the humming seemed to point toward a trail, like arrows made of sound. A narrow trail slipped away toward a brighter place. Far ahead, water glittered and the humming turned into a gentle ripple. Kai led the way down the trail. The fox bounced over roots, making the leaves shake with tiny shivers. Luna followed with careful steps. Her lantern stayed steady, and its warm glow looked like a friendly firefly in the shade. A tiny feather trembled on a fern. The humming seemed to make everything quiver, even the quietest things. The trees thinned and the light turned bright again. They could hear water clearly now, and the humming sounded like it was washing itself clean. Mossring Forest waved goodbye with rustling leaves. The path pulled them forward, toward sparkle and song. They stepped out of the cool shade. The humming grew brighter, as if it were smiling. They followed a bank path where pebbles crunched softly. The stream's sparkle mixed with the humming, making it sound bubbly and sweet. Glimmerpool Stream danced in the sunlight. Each ripple held a bright wink, like the water was giggling. Luna and Kai stopped at the stepping stones. The humming seemed to echo from the water, but it still felt incomplete. A leaf spun in a tiny whirlpool. The stream sang its own quiet song, splash and sparkle, splash and sparkle. Luna stepped onto the first stone, slow and steady. Cool mist touched her cheeks, and she held her lantern tight. On the bank, Kai spotted a small dark glint under the water. The fox crouched and stared, as still as a pebble. Kai reached into the shallow water and pulled out a smooth pebble. A little golden groove ran around it, like a path for music. Luna leaned close to see the special pebble. When the lantern light touched it, the humming gave a tiny, happy flutter. On the far side, tall grass waved like a green sea. Something wooden stood in the distance, and the humming seemed to come from there. Kai crossed the stones with quick steps. The fox leaped after him, landing with soft splashes that sounded like tiny claps. Luna reached the far bank with damp shoes. She looked back at the stream, grateful for its bright, friendly sparkle. Their wet footprints darkened the soil for a moment. Then the ground drank the water, quiet and thirsty. Kai kept the special pebble safe in his hand. Luna walked beside him, and the humming pulled them onward like a gentle string. A few thin clouds drifted across the sun. The light softened, and the humming sounded warmer, like it was getting ready for afternoon. They left the stream's giggle behind them. The tall grass ahead swayed and invited them in. The grass brushed their legs like soft brooms. The humming grew clearer, like a lullaby carried on the wind. Windharp Meadow spread out wide and bright. In the center stood a wooden arch with ribbons, ready to sing when the breeze passed through. Luna and Kai walked into the sea of flowers. The arch hummed, but the song still stumbled, like it was missing its brightest bell. The ribbons fluttered and the strings shivered. The sound was sweet, but not complete. Luna found an empty hook at the arch's center. It looked like something round and golden used to hang there. Kai examined the wood, and the fox sniffed the ground. The grass was flattened, as if something had rolled away. Kai held up the grooved pebble near the empty hook. The humming answered with a brighter pulse, like a heartbeat made of sound. They looked from the empty hook to the meadow's edge. A small workshop roof peeked out, and the humming seemed to ask for help. A little trail of flowers led away from the arch. The sun began to lean, painting the meadow with warmer color. Kai walked gently between the blossoms. The fox trotted beside him, nose twitching at the sweet smell. Luna followed, careful and calm. Petals floated past her lantern, as if the light and flowers were friends. A small sign showed a carved bell symbol. It swayed a little, tapping softly like a quiet reminder. The workshop came closer, warm and inviting. The humming grew gentle again, as if it hoped someone inside could fix the missing note. Behind them, the arch waited in the meadow. The day was turning gold, and it felt like the right time to mend a song. They left the singing meadow for a moment. The wind followed them, still humming the unfinished tune. A wooden walkway led to the workshop door. The boards felt warm, and a tiny metallic chime sounded, like a hello. Honeyglow Workshop looked like a cozy box of treasures. Brass pieces and ribbons caught the late afternoon light and glowed softly. Luna and Kai stepped inside, where everything felt warm and safe. The humming echoed gently off the wooden walls. On the workbench were hooks, strings, and a little cradle shaped like a bell. Sawdust glittered in the warm light like soft gold sand. Luna placed her lantern on a shelf so it wouldn't fall. The room felt snug, like a blanket made of light. Kai knelt by a low cabinet, and the fox peeked underneath. Something round had rolled there, hiding in the shadows. The fox nudged out a small golden bell. It was a little dusty, but it shone as soon as it met the light. Luna gently wiped the bell until it gleamed. Kai held it steady, and the humming inside the room turned bright and happy. The grooved pebble fit against the bell's loop like a matching piece. It felt like they had found the last part of a puzzle. Kai tucked the bell safely into his satchel so it wouldn't roll away again. The fox watched closely, proud of its good nose. Luna lifted her lantern, ready to go back. The lantern's glow looked even warmer now, as if it knew the song would be fixed. They stood at the doorway and looked out at the meadow again. The light outside had turned orange and pink, like the sky was cheering for them. The workshop ribbons fluttered in the breeze. Everything seemed to wait for the bell to ring in its proper place. They left the cozy workshop and returned to the flower trail. The day was slipping toward sunset, and the air felt gentle and calm. They walked back through the flowers as the light turned golden. The humming sounded hopeful, like it was holding its breath. Windharp Meadow glowed under the late sun. The arch stood ready, ribbons fluttering like little flags. Luna and Kai returned to the arch with the bell. The empty hook waited quietly, as if it had been lonely. Kai lifted the bell slowly so it wouldn't slip. Luna's lantern made the gold shine like a tiny sun. Luna held the lantern steady and close. The breeze played with her hair, gentle as a feather. Kai set the bell onto the hook at last. The fox sat in the grass and watched, still as a statue. The bell swayed and gave a clear, bright ring. The humming turned into a full melody, smooth and sweet. Luna and Kai listened as the meadow finally sang. The sound felt warm, like a hug made of music. The melody drifted across the meadow and into the sky. Even the flowers seemed to nod along, slow and happy. Kai twirled once in the grass, careful not to crush the blooms. The fox chased a floating petal, then stopped to listen again. Luna sat near the arch and rested her hands on her knees. The bell's gentle ringing made the whole meadow feel safe and quiet. Each ring made the grass tips tremble like tiny dancers. The air smelled sweet, and the world felt softly in tune. As the sun sank lower, they knew it was time to head home. They looked back at the arch, and the melody seemed to wave goodbye. The path back was painted with sunset colors. The arch kept ringing behind them, quiet as a bedtime song. They left the meadow with light steps. The day's warmth followed them, wrapped around their shoulders. They walked beside the stream as the sky dimmed. Tiny lights began to blink near the water, like the evening was waking up. Glimmerpool Stream reflected the sunset like a mirror of warm paint. The stones looked darker now, but the water still sparkled. Luna's lantern became the brightest light around them. Kai chose each step carefully as the sky began to cool. Lantern light shimmered on the ripples. The stream sounded slower now, like it was getting sleepy. Kai crossed with the fox close beside him. A first tiny star appeared, watching their careful steps. Luna stepped onto the last stone and reached the bank. She felt pleasantly tired, the way you feel after a good day outside. Together they followed the path back toward the trees. The lantern's glow made a small, cozy circle in the growing dusk. They left the stream behind, still shining softly. The sunset faded, and twilight wrapped the world in blue. The forest felt cooler at night. Leaves rustled overhead, and stars peeked through the branches like shy eyes. Mossring Forest looked different in the evening. The stone circle rested quietly, and little lights drifted between the ferns. They passed the mossy stones again, walking close. The lantern made the carvings glow for a moment, then fade back into calm. A firefly rested on a carved swirl, then floated away. The forest kept its secrets, gentle and quiet. Kai's steps became slower, and a small yawn stretched his face. The fox trotted on, but its tail swayed in a sleepy rhythm. Luna carried the lantern like a warm cup of light. The moon lifted higher, and the path felt safe and familiar. At the forest edge, the air opened up again. Far away, the wind-harp bell was only a whisper now, like a lullaby saying good night. They stepped out of the forest and into open night air. The trees behind them rustled softly, like a gentle farewell. Silverreed Lane shimmered under the moon like a quiet river of plants. Crickets sang steadily, keeping time for their sleepy walk. The reeds shushed softly, back and forth. The night felt big, but kind, like a dark blanket sprinkled with stars. Luna and Kai walked in a small pool of lantern light. Their footsteps were quiet, and the reeds swayed like tall bedtime curtains. A dewdrop on a reed tip reflected the lantern like a tiny glowing bead. It trembled, then held still again. Kai gave the fox a gentle pat while they walked. The fox blinked slowly, as if it might fall asleep mid-step. Luna lifted the lantern and saw a faint warm glow ahead. The village was near, and her shoulders relaxed. They reached the end of the reeds and saw rooftops under the stars. The adventure felt complete, like a story tied with a soft ribbon. They left the silver reeds behind and headed into the village glow. The night air smelled like wood and warm soup. Cobblestones led them home with familiar bumps. The village was quiet, with only a few warm windows watching over the night. Willowbrook Village rested under the moon. The river reflected the stars, and everything felt calm and safe. They returned to the quiet lane where the day had begun. A wind chime gave one tiny tink, like a sleepy goodnight. The river moved slowly, carrying a leaf along. It sounded like a hush, the kind that helps you rest. Luna reached her door and held the lantern close. The warm light made her feel cozy all the way to her toes. Kai arrived home too, and warm light spilled onto the stones. The fox curled close, ready for a soft place to sleep. Luna and Kai paused for a moment under the stars. The lantern glow sat between them like a tiny campfire, gentle and calm. Inside Luna's home, the room was snug and quiet. Moonlight and warm lamplight mixed together like milk and honey. Luna climbed into bed and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Her lantern rested nearby, glowing softly like a friendly star. In Kai's room, everything was warm and quiet. The fox curled into a basket, tiny and snug, while the stars blinked outside. Kai settled under his blanket, and the fox breathed in slow little puffs. The day's adventure felt like a gentle song in his chest. Willowbrook grew quieter as more lights went out. Far away, the wind still carried a faint memory of the bell's melody. Luna's lantern flame became small and steady. The room felt safe, like it was holding her gently. Luna's eyes grew heavy and slow. She listened to the quiet night and let her breathing match it. Kai's hand relaxed on the blanket, and the fox slept soundly. The room was so quiet you could almost hear the stars. Outside, the village rested under the moon and